Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're into real, raw stories that hit where it hurts, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. I read them all. Now, let's get into it. The first time I laid eyes on Catherine was during a warm spring afternoon back in high school. Her bright copper hair and those piercing emerald eyes instantly drew me in. That moment unknowingly marked the beginning of a journey that would span decades. We quickly became each other's shadow, navigating teenage years side by side, dancing at school events, working summer jobs, growing closer with each experience. As time passed, our connection only deepened, surviving every growing pain that came with young love. Catherine's intensity, her relentless determination, left a mark on me early on. By the time we were 16, it wasn't just friendship anymore, it had grown into something more profound. We shared everything, from dreams and fears to late-night hopes about what life could become. By the time we tossed our graduation caps, we were already mapping out our future together. But the last few months had shifted something. Especially the past 4 weeks. Catherine no longer seemed interested in spending time with me the way we used to. Our latest fight happened just the night before, and I was emotionally drained. Catherine, known for her fiery temper and unshakable grudges, had always been strong-willed, a force of nature. Born Catherine O'Brien, she now carried the name Catherine McCarthy. Never Katie, never Kate. I once tried calling her Cat early on in our relationship, but she shut that down fast. I'm Kurt McCarthy, her husband, her high school sweetheart. We started dating at 16 and had been through every chapter of life together since then. For 26 years, 22 of those as husband and wife, I learned to navigate her storms, knowing when to engage and when to let her cool off. Despite her temper, I was crazy about her. We were each other's firsts, first crush, first kiss, first everything. She once told me, back when we were still teenagers, that she dreamed of being a maid on her wedding day, not a bride, a maid. It was strange, but I respected it. This morning, like she had 100 times before, she said, "I like the way you do it." But this time, something about it felt off. Mechanical. Detached. I got up to shower first, the water helping me think. Her words echoed in my head, and for the first time, they bothered me. Something was wrong. Her moods usually lasted a week, maybe 10 days, but this time it had been almost a full month of cold distance. I told her the bathroom was free after I was done. She let out a half-hearted groan and eventually shuffled in. I thought back to our early days, when being near each other wasn't enough, when we'd find ways to sneak time together between long hours at our jobs. I was a grease-stained mechanic back then, she worked retail. We were broke, but we were solid. Around 28, a local Napa franchise owner offered me a management role after noticing how I handled cars and customers. Over a few drinks one night, he laid it out for me. He'd train me, let me run the place, and in 10 years, sell it to me. I'd make $40,000 a year, and he'd bank $20,000 annually toward a down payment. We shook hands on it. I quit my job 2 weeks later and dove in. It wasn't glamorous, late nights, weekend hours, but it gave me the flexibility to watch my kids play sports, and that mattered to me. When I told Catherine about the opportunity, she exploded. Not because the offer was bad, but because I hadn't consulted her first. She didn't care that it would let me be there more for the family, she didn't even ask. She just shut me out for a week straight, like she'd done before, on birthdays, vacations, holidays. 8 years in, I still hadn't shaken the anxiety that came with confronting her when she was like that. The lack of salary growth led to even more friction. I kept trying to reassure her. Trust me. But trust wasn't her strength. My hours shifted too, from 7:30 to 5 as a wrench turner to 9 to 7 as a manager. I was home more, present more, trying to be a good dad. But around 2 years ago, something in Catherine began to change. Her temper, already legendary, became crueler. She didn't argue anymore, she belittled. The way she looked at me, talked to me, it chipped away at me, little by little. The past 3 months had been brutal. Conversations helped for a minute, but the peace never lasted. Bringing anything up now only made her more hostile. That constant strain started bleeding into every corner of our home life. I found myself looking for reasons to stay late at work rather than face the tension at home. Business was thriving. We had 4 branches now, steady income, strong client base. Catherine, as driven as ever, had gone back to work not long after the kids were born. She ran a regional insurance office and, knowing her, took on more than she should have. Managing people's messes day in and day out could wear down anyone. Maybe that explained her constant edge. Maybe not. One morning while pulling on jeans and getting ready to tackle yard work, I thought back to what she said the other night. "I like the way you do it." She'd said that many times, but this time, the way she stressed you stuck in my head like a splinter. Something in it sounded off now. The rest of the week played out in her usual short-tempered rhythm. Then Friday rolled around, and she got home late. Without so much as a real hello, she pulled me toward the bedroom like I was on call. When I resisted, she got irritated. "I need you to cater to me," she snapped. "I'm not a damn butler," I shot back. "Do it yourself." I grabbed a pillow and crashed in Kevin's room. The next morning, I stopped by our bedroom to grab fresh clothes. Her phone lit up on the nightstand with a message from someone saved as CB. So did he do it? Suddenly that compliment from days ago, "I like the way you do it," felt poisoned. Was she comparing? To someone? I bent over the toilet and emptied my stomach. When she asked if I was okay, I told her I felt sick and needed air. "Maybe it was something you ate," she offered. I just nodded and said yeah, probably. I wouldn't let her touch me, brushing it off with some nonsense about her catching whatever I had. I got in the car and drove. Nowhere in particular, just circling the neighborhood and thinking. Could I have missed it this long? 2 years of her building walls and me just assuming she was stressed from work. I needed answers, and I knew I wouldn't get them by asking. I hit the store and picked up stomach meds to keep up the act. When I got back, I took some NyQuil, told her I needed sleep, and crawled into Kevin's bed again. She poked her head in. "Feeling any better?" she asked. "Still rough," I murmured. "Just want to sleep it off." She offered to make soup. I turned it down, said it would just come back up. I couldn't stomach anything she touched. Once the house was quiet, I lay there trying to make sense of everything. The laughter, the birthdays, the scraped knees and late-night movies. Where had it all gone? When had she started seeing someone else? That night, I knew what I had to do. I got up to use the bathroom, and her phone was right there. Another message from CB. I booked the room for Wednesday afternoon. That sealed it. Hotel. Midweek. Secret. I planned it out. Saturday and Sunday I'd fake being sick. Monday and Tuesday I'd keep things low-key. Then Wednesday I'd follow her. We still slept in the same bed, but nothing passed between us, not a word, not a glance. It's stunning how fast love turns into disgust. Come Wednesday, I left work around noon and parked a block from her office. Ate a few bites of lunch, though my stomach didn't want it. I waited. For over an hour, nothing. Then around 2:30, her boss left alone. I started second-guessing, was I wrong? Then at 2:45, Catherine walked out, looked around, and got into her car. I tailed her. She pulled into a motel lot and parked next to her boss's car. That told me everything. I watched her walk up to the door, and a tall man, Carl, opened it and welcomed her inside. The doors shut behind them. I raised my phone and snapped a picture. So it was real. All of it. I drove home fuming, fists clenched on the steering wheel the whole way. Caitlin was at practice, so the house was quiet. Good. I had time to think, to plan. We lived a little ways outside town, and one of the reasons we bought that property was the detached garage I'd built up. 2 bays, finished upstairs, my man cave. And that's exactly where this was going to end. On my terms. I'd set up a hoist in the garage and even added a bed upstairs, my own retreat, the one I always called the Doghouse. That night, sensing what was coming, I moved my essentials up there: clothes, toiletries, the basics. When Catherine came home around 5:30, I was in front of the TV, ignoring her. She asked about Caitlin, and I casually said she was likely out with friends. Catherine hinted at wanting to spend the evening together. I played along and followed her into the bedroom. She came out of the bathroom in a robe, and I looked at her, not as my wife, but as the aging 42-year-old woman she'd become. To deal with what I felt, I closed my eyes and imagined someone younger. When I opened the drawer to grab protection, she asked what I was doing. I said it plainly: protecting myself. That hit her nerve. She exploded, screaming that I was a failure who hadn't fought for a raise in nearly a decade. She said she couldn't respect me anymore. I quietly got dressed and headed for the garage. She shouted after me, demanding I come back and face her. I didn't. Instead, I called the police. I knew how these nights could spiral. Not long after, I heard banging on the door and her voice echoing rage through the walls. Then silence. That's when the smoke hit me. I opened the small window and saw the flames licking up the workshop wall. She was outside, smiling. I barely made it out, twisted my ankle in the landing, and crawled away as she screamed more filth. When the cops showed, one called in the fire. The other tackled her and cuffed her as she screamed, "Let it burn! Burn the damn doghouse!" They stuffed her into the cruiser. I told the officer the basics. We were both brought in for statements. She was charged with arson and possibly more, maybe even attempted homicide. At the station, I asked about a restraining order. They told me to talk to a lawyer. By the next day, I had one in place, 500 feet minimum. She was still locked up, waiting on arraignment. For once, luck was with me. I sat my kids down and told them everything. Caitlin wasn't surprised. She'd seen her mom explode before. She hugged me, and I apologized. Kevin was fuming. He'd cool off, eventually. The next day, I filed for divorce. When I returned, a patrol car was parked outside. Catherine was out on bail, picking up her things under police supervision. I figured her lover bailed her out. That weekend, I combed through the charred wreckage of my garage. Some tools survived. Most of the tech was destroyed. Insurance wasn't clear yet. Catherine's name was on the policy. I kept asking myself, was Carl the first? Did I miss something? Was I to blame? Her yelling about respect echoed in my head. Maybe she and Carl trashed me behind my back. I dug into him online. Carl Benson. Hired 2 years ago. That's when she started changing. Divorced. 3 kids. Lived about an hour away. I knew someone above him, one of the execs who brought his car to my shop. Monday, I'd make that call. Sunday night, she rang. Her voice was soft. "I'm sorry about the fire," she said. I didn't care. "So?" I asked. "Can I come home now?" "No. Restraining order," I reminded her. "My parents bailed me out." "They're pissed," she muttered. "Yeah? Me too. We should talk, fix things," she said. "There's nothing left to fix. Kurt, you know I love you. I just have a temper. I don't know that you love me. If you did, you wouldn't be screwing your boss." "That's not true." "What's not true? That you love me or that you're not sleeping with him?" "Both." "Catherine, I saw you with Carl at the motel. Don't insult my intelligence." She drew in a sharp breath. "Why, Catherine?" I pressed, my tone calm but cutting. "It was a slip-up, just once," she insisted. I shook my head. "Stop the lies," I told her coldly before ending the call and switching off my phone. Not even 30 minutes had passed when I heard a knock. It was her father, my father-in-law, but more than that, he'd always treated me like one of his own. He looked concerned, clearly in the dark. "What did she say happened?" I asked. He shrugged. "That you had a fight, and you kicked her out," he said with confusion. "And jail?" I asked bluntly. "She claimed she was burning some manuals in the garage and lost control," he replied. I sighed and shook my head. You really should get the full story from her. He looked at me, eyes narrowing. Are you going to tell me the truth? I met his gaze. You might not want to hear it, Mr. O'Brien. Why so formal? Your family to me, he said. Not for much longer, I answered. After this, you might not want to call me that anymore. His face fell. It's that serious? I nodded. He understood. No father wants to accept that his daughter could cause that kind of damage. He left without another word. Later that night, he sent a text, I'm sorry. I guess she came clean. I could only imagine the fallout at their place. The next morning, I reached out to her boss. He knew me from past events and shop work I'd done. Kurt, what can I do for you? He asked. I took a deep breath. This won't be a pleasant chat, sir. My wife and I are splitting because she was involved with Carl Benson. There was a pause. Damn, he muttered. I should have trusted my gut. Should have dug deeper into that guy's past. Don't blame yourself, I said. They're both grown adults. Kurt, give me a few days. I can't undo what's been done, but I'll handle this, he said firmly. I stopped him. If you fire Catherine, that might actually hurt me during the divorce proceedings. I'd appreciate it if you kept her on. He agreed. She's done good work for me. I'll keep her, he promised. I thanked him. Having her employed gave me some leverage. She was served at work, clean, quiet, no drama. But she still blew up my phone. ing bastard. She screamed the second I answered. I didn't say a word, just ended the call. Now, I've always respected cars. Fixed them with care. But Carl's Lexus? That was different. Let's just say by Friday, he was late to work with a seized engine. Not only that, but when he arrived, he walked right into a pink slip. His little side gig with my wife? Terminated. That afternoon, Catherine rang again. What did you do? She barked. I blinked. Do what? I asked, playing dumb. Don't play with me, she snapped. Talk to the lawyers, Catherine. We're done speaking, I told her, and cut the line. She called back. I didn't pick up. But I wasn't done with Carl. I reached out to his ex. I gave her the full story. She didn't hesitate. Said she'd be happy to help. Saturday night, I made a reservation at our old favorite restaurant. Kevin and Caitlin joined me. There were 4 settings. I let them assume their mom might show. But the 4th seat wasn't for her. When Molly arrived, I introduced her. This is Carl Benson's ex-wife, I said. She wanted to share her side. She talked about her own divorce, how she gave Carl a second chance after the first affair, only to be burned again. She spoke calmly, directly, like someone who's moved on but remembers the damage. She told my kids that trust is the bedrock of any relationship. That you can't build anything lasting without it. She made it clear, my leaving their mother had nothing to do with not loving her. It had everything to do with broken trust. By dessert, we were having open conversation. Caitlin said she'd suspected something for a while. After dinner, she asked if I was heading home. I smiled. Actually, I was thinking of asking Molly to the dance across the street. Molly laughed and said she'd love to. We danced until nearly midnight. I walked her to her hotel but turned down her invitation upstairs. Too early for that. We agreed to meet for breakfast. Just 2 people who'd been through the fire, choosing to walk forward, one step at a time. At breakfast, when the waitress Heather spotted me sitting across from someone who wasn't Catherine, her raised eyebrows said more than any words could. I introduced Molly with a smile, fully aware that word would spread fast. Small towns thrive on whispers. Catherine would know by sundown. Molly and I lingered over coffee, shared stories, and parted that afternoon with a mutual promise. If either of us wanted to keep this going, we'd reach out. It didn't take long. That evening Catherine called, voice laced with suspicion, accusing me of parading around with some other woman. I reminded her we were well into divorce proceedings and that her opinion no longer carried weight. She stopped fighting the inevitable after a talk with her father, and finally signed the papers. The next time I saw her was at Caitlin's graduation. Time hadn't been kind, she looked drained, thinner, older. She tried small talk, asking if I was still seeing Carl's ex-wife like it was a casual joke. I told her straight, Molly's remarkable. When I asked about Carl, she admitted he'd been fired and had moved away. I responded, "Guess you didn't love me enough," and walked off as I heard her break down, her mother calling me a jerk as I left. The following Saturday, we hosted Caitlin's graduation open house at the house. Despite everything, I agreed to lift the restraining order to allow Catherine to help with the event. Watching her move through familiar spaces was harder than I'd expected. Molly had been right. I still loved the woman I once married, even if I hated who she became. Later, when Caitlin had gone out with friends and I was hauling trash from the kitchen, Catherine approached. "Thanks for letting me be here," she said softly. "You'll always be her mom," I answered, not looking up. "Kurt, can you look at me?" I paused, turned. "I'm sorry for what I did to us," she whispered. It was the first time she admitted it. "Why?" I asked, but she couldn't say. She cried and ran off. Months passed. Caitlin got into college, and we co-signed a second mortgage to help with tuition and to give Kevin a start with his own garage. The little equity we had left after selling the house was split cleanly, no alimony. Our incomes were similar. Catherine eventually pled guilty to arson, got 2 years probation, and started therapy and anger management. When the divorce was finalized, she asked to meet. We sat at our old go-to restaurant, the place we once celebrated anniversaries. She looked nervous, but more centered. Over dinner, she explained how she'd lost respect for me, seeing Carl as driven and me as stuck. But she now understood everything I'd given up for our kids. She apologized again. "Thank you," I said. "Sorry I didn't measure up to what you thought you needed." We hugged at the door. She said I could call if I ever needed to talk. I didn't think I would. On the drive home, I called Molly. "Still available?" I asked. "I am," she said. "Want to meet? Your place or mine?" "Yours," I said. Dinner was easy, familiar. I decided to be honest. "Molly, I really like you. I don't know where this is headed, but I owe you the truth. I've got 2 reasons. 1, you're incredible. 2, I want closure. Maybe even revenge. You're the first since the betrayal. I don't want you to feel like a rebound." She stared at me and said, "CT, I want you too. Maybe it's about revenge for both of us. I never got my justice either. Let's call it even." Her words hit with a strange relief. We went to her bedroom. An hour later, as I lay beside her, I thought of Catherine, not with longing, but clarity. From the start, her anger had been a warning. I ignored it. Over time, the sharp tongue became slaps, yelling, threats. I never fought back. I was raised not to. Instead, I retreated to my garage, thinking space would cool her down. But maybe that made me look weak in her eyes. When she lit the garage on fire, knowing I was inside, I saw the truth. I couldn't stay married to someone I feared might someday end me in my sleep. Her cheating was a betrayal, but the violence, that was the end. That laugh, it hadn't changed. I turned my head slightly without drawing attention. There she was, Catherine, surrounded by her colleagues, all glowing under the bar lights, drinks in hand and stories flowing. She looked like she didn't have a care in the world, but her eyes scanned the room like she was hunting ghosts. I stayed seated, half turned toward the TV above the bar, but my ears tuned into every word drifting from that corner. She hadn't noticed me yet. Maybe it was the beard or the fact that I wasn't supposed to be there, in her world anymore. Then she spotted me. Her voice faltered mid-laugh. The recognition hit, and her whole posture stiffened. I raised my beer slightly, not as a toast but as an acknowledgement, and turned back to the TV like I hadn't just unearthed a landmine. A moment passed. Then another. I heard her chair scrape back. She left her group and approached, heels tapping against the wood floor. I didn't turn until she was nearly beside me. "Didn't expect to see you here," she said, half smiling, trying to act casual, like we were old friends who drifted apart instead of broken people who'd torn each other apart. I shrugged. I figured I'd stop by. This place still pours a decent beer. She sat down without asking. I heard about Carl, she said, watching me carefully. Yeah? What about him? He lost his job. And his apartment. Her voice was flat, like she didn't know how to feel. I figured. That tends to happen when you assault someone in their own home. You could have let it go, she murmured. Like you let go of our marriage? I shot back. She winced but nodded. Touché. There was a pause, the kind that feels too thick to cut. She looked tired. Not physically, no, she still kept up appearances, but deep down, something in her had cracked. And she knew I saw it. You look good, she offered. I feel better, I replied. Clean slate helps. Is Molly part of that clean slate? She asked, voice low. I turned to face her fully now. Yes. And I'm not sorry. She swallowed hard, nodded, then got up slowly. Tell her thanks. For helping you move on. I will. She hesitated. You ever think about us? What went wrong? Every now and then, I said honestly. But not for long. Catherine stood there for another second before walking back to her table. Her laugh didn't return that night. And I finished my beer in silence. I pulled the check from my wallet at a red light, still thinking about the night before. There was nothing special on it, until I turned it over. Scrawled across the back in sharp pen were the words, You owe me a drink. Heather. My waitress from Thursday. I smirked. Apparently, the bar had been more eventful than I thought. By the time I got home, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Shannon. Last night was unexpected and perfect. Hope you're smiling today like I am. I typed back a quick response, something smooth but not clingy. I didn't know what this was yet, but I knew I felt lighter than I had in months. Later that afternoon, I decided to clean out the garage, the new one, the rebuilt one. Ashes of the old one still lingered in memory, but I'd replaced every tool, every bolt, and every bad association with something new. Just like I was trying to do with my life. By evening, I found myself sitting on the back porch, sipping a cold beer, watching the sky change colors. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was from a number I hadn't saved. Catherine. I saw you last night. You looked happy. I stared at the message. Debated replying. Eventually, I just wrote. I was. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. That was the first time I'd been honest with her in a long while, and it wasn't laced with bitterness. It was just the truth. I didn't know what would happen with Shannon, or with whatever Heather had scribbled on that check. But I knew this, the past didn't have claws in me anymore. It was behind me. Burned down. Literally and figuratively. The man who used to live in that smoke-damaged garage was gone. What came next was entirely up to me. The handwritten number on that check felt like a symbol of everything new and unexpected in my life. On Monday, I found myself back at Smitty's, and there was Helen, calm, mature, and closer to my age. After some light conversation, I asked her out, and we picked Wednesday, her day off, for our first date. Just as I was walking to my truck, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? I answered. Kurt? It's Bethany, came the voice. It took me a second, but I placed her. From Thursday night? With Shannon? That's me, she said with a soft laugh. Shannon said Saturday was great. I was wondering, would you want to go out sometime? I hesitated. Aren't I a bit old for you? Not at all. I like older men. You guys are more grounded. I chuckled. All right. How's Saturday night? Perfect. You pick the place, she replied, her voice smooth and confident. Bethany wasn't kidding about flexibility. Our night went from dinner to an entirely different type of cardio I hadn't expected. And then there was Helen. Wednesday turned out to be just as rewarding. Turns out that phrase, I like the way you do it, had become a regular part of my evenings. By Sunday, Molly had me over for dinner. A real meal, the kind you don't get in drive-thrus. After eating, we worked together in her garage, and I started to realize I was actually enjoying life again, something I hadn't done in a long time. But Monday night, the mood shifted. Kathleen called. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she snapped. "Watching TV," I said casually. "I mean dating girls 10 or 15 years younger. Have you no shame?" "You mean Shannon and Bethany?" I asked. "Yes, them. They asked me out. And I said yes. Welcome to dating in 2020-something. She fumed. "Stop dating people I work with." "Why? Because you said so?" I asked, already knowing her answer. "Yes. We're not married anymore. I date who I want." "You're doing it just to make my life miserable," she hissed. "Maybe. But if it bothers you, that's your problem." She explained how coworkers kept whispering behind her back, wondering how she let me go. "They call me an idiot," she said. "I'll ask them to tone it down," I offered with a smirk. "But I'm not stopping unless they want to." "You're such an hole," she barked, then hung up. I leaned back, thinking about each of these women and how much confidence they'd given me back. Wednesday with Helen came again, and it didn't disappoint. Thursday night, another call. "I haven't seen Shannon or Bethany yet," I muttered, already bracing myself. "You're even dating the waitress at Smitty's?" she growled. "She's more age-appropriate," I quipped. "I just don't want to keep answering why I ever let you go," she admitted. "Tell them someone else seemed like a better fit for your ambitions." She was quiet, then softly said, "I'll just tell them I was stupid," and hung up. I stared into the silence after that call. There was remorse in her voice, real or imagined, I couldn't tell. Part of me still mourned the life we once had, but the rational side knew that chapter was closed. The damage had been done long before she ever realized it. Feeling adrift, I headed to the store and bought a case of Shiner Bock. Just as I walked out, my phone rang again. "Shannon." "Beer therapy?" she teased. "Yeah. Drowning my mood. Want company? You just might be the cure I need." She came over, and we drank, laughed, and got tangled up more than once. Around 2 a.m., she gathered her things. "I have to work tomorrow," she said, pausing at the door. "Oh, and let's keep tonight between us." "Of course," I agreed. She smiled. "Still can't believe she let you go. You just saved me from a depressing night." "Anytime," she whispered. "And I mean anytime." If that story shook something in you, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and make sure you're subscribed. More stories like this are coming your way. Until next time, stay sharp, stay honest.